The meeting of the Evanston Plan Commission will come to order. We have a quorum. Is there a motion regarding the August 11th meeting minutes or corrections?
I make a motion that we approve the
Is there a
minutes.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I
passes.
abstain. I wasn't here.
Motion still
Yeah,
passes.
I'm just saying I abstained.
Does someone wish to speak to the third item on the agenda, zoning text amendment?
Yes.
I see Mr. Dunkley approaching the podium.
Good evening, gentlemen. Bill Dunkley, zoning administrator. We have before you tonight an updated, amended revision of the microdistillery and what was previously microbrewery use definition as a text amendment to the zoning ordinance that came before the zoning committee last month. We have incorporated the comments of the zoning committee, in particular to remove the definition of tasting room as a separate entity and to incorporate that within the definition of microdistillery. We have also, staff has, is asking you to table the portion of the amendment that had to do with defining brew pub. We found in the interim, after the zoning committee meeting, that there actually are, that the definition as it exists currently in the code is problematic. And we would rather delay the incorporation of that until we can resolve the problems with the existing definition. And
What are the problems?
yeah.
I'm sorry, what are the problems?
The existing definition of brew pub defines a brew pub that allows distribution to distributors themselves, which essentially defines it as a microbrewery. So in addition to that, there's also a cap definition of how much they can produce in gallons, not barrels. And so we want to shore it up that align with industry standards as well as removing the distribution component, because a brew pub sells mostly on site or from hand-capped growler bottles or small six-packs from their retail component at their facility. So in the next couple weeks, we want to define both brew pub, microbrewery, and take it up to the necessary boards.
So a brew pub would never be able to have Evanston First Liquor sell sixes?
No.
Craig, could you identify yourself for the record, please?
My name is Craig Sklenar. I'm the general planner for the city.
So why is it a problem that you want to take that out? Why would you not allow a brew pub to build its brand by selling something in a local liquor store?
Because, again, it doesn't align with industry standards, and we're trying to make sure that the industry knows that Evanston is ready for both types of breweries in Evanston. So we want to make sure that they understand that we know what we're talking about and that we have clear language as to what they want to apply for. A brew pub will be placed in a B and C district, and we don't want to have distributors in B and C districts. That is an industrial use, which would be in an I district.
It seems to me if you allow a brew pub, I don't know how many barrels or how many gallons it is, but as long as they stay within the limit of the amount of gallons or barrels that you allow them to produce.
There are two components to that. One is a brew pub would not put in the bottling facilities in a brew pub that would allow them to distribute beyond their own selling at the retail. A lot of that's going to be hand capped, and to produce enough bottles to put into a distribution system like Evanston First Liquor, they would have to do a lot of hand capping. Second, the legal limit for a brew pub is small enough that it really discourages distribution in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
And you're just being consistent with the state of Illinois'.
Both the state of Illinois and the National Craft Brewers Association definition of what a brew pub and a microbrewery are.
From the beginning, though, for practical reasons, Brewpub was really coming along for the ride with the microdistillery text amendment. The schedule critical item is microdistillery, and we feel that that's ripe and ready. We hope you would agree. The third change that you'll find is a language, really cleaning up the language of the amendment itself. The item that I handed out just a few minutes earlier is the draft ordinance of 71010, which is the text amendment to add microdistillery as a use and to define its use profile among the zoning districts. If you turn to page 2 of that draft ordinance, and by the way, this is maybe 20 minutes old at this point, but we felt it was important to get the actual text in front of you. If you look at section 2, the definition of microdistillery, you'll see it's pretty compact. I'd like to read it. Microdistillery is a facility that produces alcoholic beverages in quantities not to exceed 5,000 gallons per year and includes an accessory tasting room. A tasting room allows customers to taste samples of products manufactured on site and purchase related sales items. Sales of alcohols manufactured outside the facility are prohibited. We scaled back what was an elongated, I guess, definition of tasting room. When we came back to it, we were spending too much time defining what's an accessory use. In fact, we also defined that there are other uses that could go on in a tasting room, such as special events, entertaining, and really what we were doing is putting too much emphasis on uses that were accessory to an accessory use, and that just weren't sending the right, creating the right picture. We feel that this adequately describes the microdistillery use in fairly succinct language that's understandable. Sections 3 through 9, then go on to fairly repetitively add microdistillery as a special use in the B1, B2, B3, B1A, so all of the business districts, which are the neighborhood commercial districts. Then the C districts, C1, C2, and C1A, which are the commercial districts, the more automobile-oriented commercial districts. And that's the sum of this proposed text amendment. We'll follow up with Brewpub, as well as I think next time we get together, we'll have several other text amendments on the agenda. Those of you who are on the zoning committee will get a chance to bat them about. But this is the first in a string of, I think, 4 or 5. Many of which are really more opening up uses for economic development purposes rather than restricting uses. Now that we have an economic development group, we're able to be responsive to them, and I think we'll be right in the thick of it. So with that, staff would like to ask if you'd consider a recommendation to the City Council recommending the introduction of the proposed ordinance. And of course, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to respond.
So would you like one of us to make a motion to recommend?
Yes,
I would
sir.
like to.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming since nobody has any other questions, anyone have any other questions, issues? I'd like to enthusiastically recommend to, oh, you do have a quick question?
Quick question.
Okay.
You can speak, right?
Yeah,
Turn on your mic, please. Thank you. On the black base of the. Yeah.
you just did it.
I just did it?
The silver
base.
switch.
You know, we should formally introduce our new member, I think, huh?
Hi, I'm Quasi Steele. I'm the new member. I've been AWOL, but I'm here.
Mr. Steele, welcome to the commission.
Thank you. Quick question. You cited Koval here up in Ravenswood. How much, in terms of quantity of gallons, how much do you anticipate actually producing?
Currently, Koval manufactures.
You can speak into the microphone, or you won't catch on tape.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Paul Haletko, I'm a concerned citizen. Currently, Koval manufactures, I'm not exactly sure how much. I believe it is about 3,000 bottles. no, I'm sorry, 3,000 cases. Their cases are 375 milliliter, so that implies 1,500 cases equals 10,000. Somewhere around 3,500 to 4,000 gallons, maybe. Certainly their sales are increasing. The other distillery in the area is North Shore Distillery, which is up in Lake Bluff. It's my understanding that they are currently manufacturing and selling somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000 gallons. They do not qualify as a craft distiller under Illinois law, and they would not qualify as a craft distiller under the proposed ordinance here.
Okay. And then my follow-up is this. You will actually be manufacturing this on-site, right?
Correct.
And you said your location currently is by Chicago and Maine?
Correct.
Okay. What, I assume that risk analysis has been done. What are some of the dangers that we're overlooking if you were to open this in your current location?
Dangers?
Does a distillery blows up? Does it blow up or does it blow up? I mean, what are some of the-
No, I mean, distillery operations are handled much more professionally than, say, a moonshine operation in up in the mountains. We don't actually use fire around pure alcohol. So,
I guess what
is there
I'm driving at
dangers?
is-
Not, I mean, no.
What I'm driving at is this: with everything, there are possibilities, and if Chicago and Maine, so I'm still trying to locate where your Z location is going to be. I'm trying to find out steps in place to mitigate any unforeseen or any unplanned.
As far as the facility itself, actually backs onto the train tracks.
Okay.
As far as dangers of explosion, I'm not aware of a single commercial distillery having an explosion in, frankly, ever.
Okay.
The only time there would be any danger of that would be if you're using open flame around the high-proof alcohol, and that's why people don't use open flame around alcohol. In fact, fire codes actually have specific exemptions for high-proof alcohol because industry standards are such that there actually are very little danger since it's not actually going to catch fire without flame. The heat sources are used for either electrical or steam. In my particular case, it's going to be steam most likely.
But also, this ordinance doesn't deal with the actual facility, just
Correct.
the approval of enabling a facility.
Yeah, actually, I follow that much, but assuming that this is approved, this will open the door for other individuals to come in to want to do the same thing. And I guess if it gets in now, then the door is open. So I just wanted to know, before the door is open, what are some of the possibilities out here? And that's what he was explaining.
Yeah, certainly to the extent that there is any danger, I'm sure that the fire marshal will be taking a tour of the facility to make sure that I don't have stacks of kindling wood to heat the still.
The ordinance permits these as special uses, which means they have to be individually approved through the special use process. The location has to be.
Yeah, if this is approved, I am not actually open for business. I could simply apply to be open for business.
Oh, yeah, I follow that much. I follow that very
And
well.
that also, of course, excludes the fact that Evanston is actually the third licensing authority that has jurisdiction over a distillery. The United States federal government does not grant licenses without on-site inspections to make sure of the concerns that you have. The state of Illinois also is a licensing authority that will not grant licenses if there's a problem. The industry itself is highly, highly, highly regulated to make sure that there are no concerns with the people operating the entities.
Okay. Now, this is to Bill. So if I read this amendment, the way it's been defined here, Paul, assume this approves, this amendment is approved and Paul successfully opens his place, right? He can manufacture there. We can go, citizens can go and taste And the only different thing is here is this: he cannot actually import alcohol from other places to sell. But whatever he makes, people can go and taste, and people can go and purchase from there.
That's correct.
Cool.
We felt it was important. This is the reason we're allowing this in B and C districts. We normally wouldn't have a light manufacturing operation here. But it's important to the operations of the microdistillery to have a presence, a retail-type presence there. So we're requiring it. So if at any time that accessory use is no longer operational, that would constitute a change of use.
Would this enable a current restaurant or bar to do the same thing?
Could you be more specific? Do the same thing?
Firehouse Grill is up the street. Could they have it?
To distill alcohol?
Yeah.
No.
And that's because they have other facilities. There's a bar there. There's other things there, correct?
It's because
There are other uses
Yep.
of that restaurant, of a restaurant and bar that precludes it from being a distillery.
I'm sorry, I'm still
What I'm
not
trying to
getting
find
you.
out is if with this ordinance, would it enable an establishment that already exists and sells alcohol and food to start brewing their own alcohol?
Absolutely not. Are there any
That
other questions?
I'm gonna bring it up again for a vote. I don't drink at all, but I think this is something that I can enthusiastically recommend to the city council.
Is there any further discussion? I compliment the staff and the law department on revising the draft that came before the committee and making it much more clear and unambiguous. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in
I don't believe we had a second.
Oh, is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the Plan 2030 update, scope and schedule.
Good evening. We left last time with a update to the schedule. I augmented that schedule per our conversations, which was included in the packet. And tonight I wanted to spend a little time to talk about table of contents. It may seem like cart before the horse, but I think it helps frame the conversations that we're going to have in the general public in the next 12 months if we have an idea of where we want to start placing items or have topics of conversation during town hall meetings and during charrette sessions themselves. So I would like to open it up for conversation. I understand Commissioner Myers couldn't be here tonight. I don't know, did he copy you on an email that he sent out in reply?
I don't think I got
Guessing
a copy
not.
from him.
Okay. His one comment that he had was to potentially go from the proposed table of contents that I showed in the packet to more of a what he called triple bottom line, in that we group everything into environmental, social, and economic. While I think that's an interesting organization, I feel if we start putting in words like social, the plan starts to become something a little bit different. In most comprehensive plans, we tend to try to focus on the physical elements of the city. And I want to try to keep the conversations on physical aspects, what needs to change, what needs to stay, what needs to be improved over the next 20 years. Hence why the table of contents that I put together talks more in those terms.
Is there a discussion or comments on the proposed scope and table of contents? We have a quiet commission.
I'm shocked.
I'm trying to open the file.
I think as part of the process, non-staff need to talk to the elected officials. Members of the committee individually or as a whole, and find out their concerns and their desires with respect to the scope and therefore the table of contents. I think what you've written is a great starting place. When we begin to look at this in detail, we may have different ideas.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of the way I viewed what you produced. I liked it. I just think more things will come, and maybe the emphasis will change as we talk to elected representatives and others that have comments on the issue.
Absolutely. I do want to make a note that I am starting discussions internally with city staff as well to talk about, we deal with a lot of things day-to-day basis, from the planning division down to parks department and even public works, of what's working, what's not. I want to get a full idea of what across the city board, how we can be more efficient on our side and what our needs are for the next 20 years as well. So that will be coming into play eventually as well.
I suspect you know more about the aldermen than any of us, not meaning to insult anyone, and their desires. But sometimes a non-staff member will ask different questions.
Please, I encourage you to talk to your own aldermen and aldermen that you may not have full contact with. And if you have anything that you should report back, please share that with the commission or with myself, and I'll try to get that out to everybody.
Are aldermen being apprised of this as the process moves along, or are
we are gearing towards that component. Right now it's pretty much stayed within the city manager's office. We wanted to get a full kind of scope of work and a general outline and general timeline put together. And now that we seem to be agreeing on everything, this will move next to, I'm assuming, a city council meeting to at least present a kickoff component. And I would very much like plan commission members there when we do that, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, concerns, et cetera.
Other comments? Thank you.
That was easy.
A nice exhibit you sent us. Are there any committee reports?
just one update on the neighborhood. That's why I showed up. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
And identify yourself.
Albert Hunter, and operating, I think, still as head of the neighborhood committee. Just a quick update on that we have completed in the order of, this is on the neighborhood mapping project. We've completed on the order of several hundred interviews with residents, and have 3 more census tracts to go. So hopefully we will begin the actual mapping process sometime this fall.
Any comments or questions? Is there any further business? It is 7:37. We have completed this meeting in about 24 minutes. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
That was a quick meeting. That's not going to happen again.
Council.